Really excited to be hosting this webinar today to get the opportunity to discuss ways in which we can improve our health and well-being through creating lasting habits. So as you can see, the title is Ditching the New Year's Resolutions for Lasting Habits. And I feel like that may come as a bit of a shock. Why would we be ditching New Year's resolutions when they come from a place of such good intentions and good motivation? After the Christmas period when we intend to follow through with these changes. But our primary focus here at Second Nature is not just to create New Year's resolutions, because we can see from the statistics that over 70% of people don't keep to them or only keep some of them. So what we want to do is create habits that are going to last. So let's look at what we're going to cover today. Oh, sorry. There we go. So today we are going to look at some of the most common New Year's resolutions and what we kind of see come up each year and why most of them don't last. Following that, we'll then look at how we can create lasting habits using the Second Nature approach. And then finally, we'll go on to discuss the 3 top take-home tips that you can use when making these lasting changes. And of course, at the end, we will have a Q&A. So if anyone would like to ask any questions to us, then we're more than happy to answer them. So if you're all ready, let's get into it. Oh, I'm having a little bit of an issue with the over here. There we go. Okay, so as we can see, health and weight loss tend to be up at the top of the list each year. And these are actually the statistics from the gov.uk website, and they are the statistics from 2024. However, I will say that this pretty much looks the same year on year. And I guess that makes sense that people are looking at health and weight loss because after the festive season, we are indulging in a lot of food and a lot of drinks, because that plays a huge role in how we socialize. So with the new year around the corner, it can be seen as a fresh start and a new slate. And most of us have the best and newfound intentions to create these New Year's resolutions. But before we look at why they're not really working and not why they're not sticking, which the statistics show, let's take a closer look at why health and weight loss itself is usually at the top of the list. So you might recognize the saying. It may look very familiar to some of you. Our health is our wealth. And this rings very true because if we don't have our health, then we're unable to function optimally in other areas of our life because it is the foundation of everything that we do. So having good health allows us to function at our best. It gives us the freedom in many other areas of our lives. So it can improve our energy, improve our mood, improve our focus. And that in itself can actually boost your motivation. So this ultimately allows us to experience more happiness in our lives because we have the energy and the ability to do the things that we enjoy in life. And of course, looking at weight loss, why that is up there too, because we know weight loss itself can have a significant impact on our health for those of us who would be considered overweight. Just losing 10% of your body weight can significantly improve your metabolic health, reducing your risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, stroke, can reduce blood pressure, and even improve symptoms of PCOS, among many other things. So at Second Nature, we really pride ourselves on, taking a holistic approach to our health, and our health is multifaceted, meaning there are many different components that make up our health. So these are the 5 main pillars of health. And so we don't only just look at nutrition, we also look at other factors which play an important role in our health, such as getting good quality sleep, implementing more movement to improve our physical activity, managing our stress levels to help regulate our nervous system, and of course looking at our mindset, which influences our behavior, as this plays a huge role in the habits that we create for ourselves. And there's a quote that I always like to remind people of. It's by someone called James Clear. And it says, the quality of your life depends on the quality of your habits, because our habits can either work for us or they can work against us. And that's why it's so important to implement those healthy and lasting habits, just so we can live the life that we want and have that freedom, that sense of freedom. So why are the New Year's resolutions setting us up to fail? A lot of them are restrictive. They are, vague. They are, we're setting rules for ourselves, really strict rules where we actually can't, sustain them and implement them properly. And so it feeds into that all or nothing mindset. And so we want to kind of move away from that all or nothing mindset and have a more balanced approach and avoid this restrictive, unsustainable, these strict rules, etc. So I'm now going to ask anyone watching this. Just for examples of common weight loss or health resolutions that you may set for yourself, that you maybe set in the past, or maybe some ones that, friends or family set. So I'll start with an example. So dry January is one that I would see quite often. So I'd be interested to see if anyone has any comments of, health or weight loss resolutions so we can look through them. Let's see. To eat more fruit and veg, yeah. Dry January, absolutely. Going on a restrictive diet, eat breakfast, increase water, get healthier. I go for dry Jan, I go for dry Feb. Go to the gym more, lose half a stone, move more. Absolutely. Drink more water, reduce carbs. That's one I see a lot. Yeah. Someone went for a dry December. That must have been difficult. Eat less sugar, couch to 5K, do more Pilates. Yeah. So we can see there's a lot of intention and New Year's resolutions that many people set. Absolutely. Thank you so much for everyone who's participating there. Cut off unhealthy snacks. Increase water again. Yeah, that's a big one. Eat more protein, hit the gym. And someone said there, which is very interesting, these have failed in the past because they couldn't last long term. And that is so true. 10K steps a day, no sugar. Decrease your portion size. Someone doing a walk for cancer research, brilliant. So that is just a prime example there of all the intentions that we're setting, and many of them can be quite restrictive. So I've added some of my own, common weight loss resolutions and health resolutions, which I'll put on the screen now, that I often see as a dietitian that people say to me that they want to do. And these are some of the more kind of vague and unsustainable ones. So I will get up at 6 a.m. and I'll go for a run before work. I'm going to do dry Jan. I will cut out bread, which I actually hear a lot of people say that they're going to cut out bread, and it kind of feeds it into that all or nothing mindset, and it's demonizing a certain food group, which we want to avoid. I will eat a salad every day before dinner, and sometimes I hear people say that when they don't like salads, they say, I hate salad, but I'm going to eat a salad every day for my dinner to lose weight. I won't snack anymore. This will be my last takeaway. Oh, I can't see my screen, apologies. Veganuary. I won't eat any more chocolate. I will do a juice cleanse for 30 days. And I'm going to cut out carbs. And I've seen a few of those there in the chat, which was very interesting, I will say. And so that actually leads us into what I call a negative diet cycle. So I have a diagram here that kind of helps explain that. So let's say, for example, you start your diet and one of the things you say you're going to do is cut out chocolate. So you impose this restriction on yourself, like we're going around the cycle here. And over time, you start to feel, those feelings of deprivation, which lead to temptation. Then one day you go into the office and, someone's birthday and there's cake or there's chocolate there, and you cave in because you are craving it, and there's a lot of food noise in your head because you're telling yourself, I can't have it, but it makes you want it more. So after you cave in, you then have those feelings of guilt and shame and low self-esteem, unfortunately, that come along with that. And then the cycle starts all over again, because you have it and then you impose the restriction and you go round and round. Whereas cultivating a more balanced approach with realistic habits can actually help avoid that, whilst also sustaining changes in the long term. So you can see that it wasn't you that failed, but it was actually the diet that failed you, because it led you into this negative diet cycle. And we all have the ability to change. If you have the right information and the right tools, you're less likely to fall into this negative diet cycle. So what is the second nature approach to lasting habits? So we are here to set sustainable goals and create lasting habits. But in order to do that, we need to know why. Why are we setting these goals for ourselves? Because if you don't know your reasons why in the first place, how are you going to succeed? What is pushing you to make these changes? So I've put here, what is your why? And once again, I would like those of you watching to put your answer in the little chat box. What are some reasons why you would like to make some healthy, lasting changes? I can start off, so potentially to have more energy, to avoid getting diabetes, to no longer be pre-diabetic, to reduce back pain, reverse type 2 diabetes, enjoy fitting into my clothes to feel better for medical reasons, reduce my weight, to get back into my lovely clothes, avoid diabetes, enjoy my retirement, to like myself, absolutely. Yeah. Well, they're going to quicken past here to avoid yeah, low blood sugars again. There's a lot of avoiding diabetes, reversing diabetes, being pre-diabetic, to improve my health, to live the best life that I can. Yeah, absolutely. Spend more outside time with my granddaughter, with my grandchildren. Again, stuff I see all the time. And this is great. You people writing into this chat, you know your reasons why, and this is such a good start to lower your blood sugars, to get healthier, to get fitter for a new knee, someone for a new knee. Reduce inflammation, perfect. That's really, really good. So many of you here know your reason why. Feel better about yourself. Great. So now I'm just going to add to some of what you just said there. So let me click through. So some of these may resonate with you, and I think I've seen some of them in the chat. So to have more energy to do the things that I enjoy, to spend more time with my grandchildren, as I've seen a few people say, improve my blood sugars, reverse your diabetes if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic. So I can't really see that actually. Play with my kids, improve my longevity, to fit my clothes better, to improve my self-confidence, maybe for someone to meet a romantic partner through their improved confidence, to feel happy and content, to reduce pain and reduce pressure on my joints, so I can spend more time with my family and with my friends. Did someone say we can't see the screen? Gemma,
It's
can we see the screen?
it's okay. Sorry, I'm speaking to them in the chat. If anyone is having trouble viewing the slides, you should be able to click on Francesca's screen as a tab at the top of the page. But if not, if you are having issues with this is being recorded, so don't worry, you will get a recording of it. As long as you can hear it, I think that's the main thing right now. But yeah, let me know if you have any issues with this, and we'll get a recording sent to you.
Apologies about that. Hopefully most of you can see it. Can see it, no problem here. Okay, so I feel like some people can, some people maybe can't. Okay, back to the presentation. Yeah, so that is some of your reasons why. And so your reasons why, it's going to be individual for everyone. We're all going to have our own reasons why. But moving on from that, this is a question that I think some people will think, well, what does that mean? What are our values? What does that mean? So this is another factor in helping making those lasting changes, essentially. So our values is what is important to us and what really matters to us at our core. So our goals must align with those values because it's what is important to us. So I've actually created a diagram for you all to look at here. And it's basically a diagram with a list of different values. So have a little look there and tell me, if there's things there that really resonates with you, that's really important to me. So that's basically a list of your core values. So perhaps you can identify some of them. So I'll give you some examples as to how that kind of aligns with your why and how that sort of feeds into creating your goals. So for example, let's say family, friendship, joy, and freedom are at your core values, which I imagine is the case for many of us. So creating strict rules around social occasions. So let's say there's a family dinner and you miss the family dinner because of a strict, dietary restriction, or you miss a weekend away with your friends, like I said, because you're on a strict diet, then you miss out on enjoyment, spending time with loved ones, you miss out on making memories. And this isn't going to last and it isn't going to stick because you really value your time with your family and your friends and you enjoy the freedom. And so again, it's having that more balanced and flexible mindset. Or another one might be health and well-being. So you see these people going for quick fixes, so just cleanse or milkshake diets, but that isn't supporting your health and well-being because you're often wanting food, you're feeling hungry, it's unsustainable, it's not filling you up, and it's not actually providing you with the nutrition that whole foods would provide you with. So it doesn't align with the fact that you really value your health and your well-being. So that's an example. So now that we know our why and now that we know our values, how do we do this? How do we set these sustainable goals that I was talking about? So I've picked 3 things that I think are the most important that you can use and take home today to start implementing those lasting habits and those lasting changes. So we'll deep dive into each of them. So number 1 is making your goals specific. Number 2 is setting your environment up for success. And number 3 is keeping yourself accountable. So number 1, making your goals specific. So as we can see here, there's outcome goals and there's process goals. And so most of the time people will think of the outcome and what they want. So the outcome goal is what you want to achieve, but the process goal is how you're going to get there. So knowing your what and your how then leads to an action. But if everyone can look at this diagram that I've put up here, so your outcome goals, you can see there's a target with an arrow in the middle. That's what you're aiming towards. And then the process goal, there's a target there, but you can see the little line with the circles. That's your process. That's your how. That's how I'm going to get to that. Instead of kind of, aimlessly thinking, this is what I want, but unless you know how you're going to get there, it's oftentimes not going to work. So I've created 2 examples. So the first one is an extrinsically motivated example. So that basically means that your reward is coming in extrinsically from the outside. So I want to lose X amount of weight so I can fit into my dress. And so the process of how you're going to get there is I will reduce my overall portion sizes and increase my daily activity levels. And sort of using the portion size plate and reducing the portion of your main meals and increasing your steps from 3K to 5K each day. And the next one is intrinsically motivated. Now, I've put both of these here because we oftentimes have both intrinsic and extrinsic motivating factors. But there's some research to say that having intrinsic motivation can sometimes last a bit longer than extrinsic motivation. So an example would be, and I've seen some people talk about this in the chat. So an outcome goal would be, I want to reduce my blood sugar levels so I can improve my energy and I can feel good again. And your process goal is I will switch to complex carbs and reduce my overall portion. And I will increase my weekly exercise. So your action from those, how you're going to do that, I'm going to use so whole grain bread, which is your complex carbs, and then you're going to use the balanced plate model to reduce your overall portion size because you'll have that model to look at when you're creating your meals. And number 2, so increase my weekly exercise. So I'm going to go to an exercise class that I enjoy 1 to 2 times weekly. And again, let's look at the fact that it's 1 to 2 times, not 3, 4, 5, 6, because we want to make small steps to begin with because we want it to be sustainable and we want it to last, which is the theme of this webinar. And so the next step then is SMART goals. So I don't know if anyone has heard of SMART goals before, but they are really important. So making your goals SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. And I've actually created an example surrounding sleep because sleep is something that's often missed out and it's really important. So let's just say specifically you want to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And you want that to improve your energy. And so measurable, you're going to set up a sleep schedule from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Now, you may go to bed at 10 o'clock, but you might not get to sleep until about 11, and that's okay. But it's trying to set a sleep schedule because a lot of research suggests that improving our sleep schedule and waking up and going to bed at the same time every day actually really improves our sleep quality as well, and of course impacts our health. The sleep is the foundation of our health. So you're going to measure that 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. as an example. Make it attainable. So how are you going to obtain that goal? So can you reduce your caffeine after 12 o'clock? Move on to water, move on to decaffeinated coffee and tea. Reduce your blue light exposure at nighttime. You can use blue light glasses. Turn off, your screens a couple of hours before bed. You can read in bed, create a relaxing environment. That will help it become a more attainable goal. Relevant. So this is relevant to your values. Again, if you're going back to health and well-being, if that's what you really value, then this goal is relevant to your values to get more sleep. And then time-based, when am I going to start it? Is it going to be next week? Is it going to be tomorrow? Know when you're going to start it. And are you going to do it Monday to Friday? Are you going to do it Monday to Sunday? And really getting into the specifics of how you're going to set that goal. And that will lead you on a really good path in order to help create these lasting habits. So hopefully that's helpful for some of you who might want to improve their sleep. Number 2 is setting your environment up for success. So your environment can have a significant impact on your success as it affects your behavior, your health, and your happiness. So the environment you surround yourself in can either hinder or help you towards meeting your goals. So it's really important for you to consider that. So I am now going to ask you all some questions, and I would really like, as I'm asking them, for you to really reflect on what I'm saying and think about your own situations. You can write some of this down or just think about it in your head as I'm saying it out loud. And I also think that the new year is a really good time to reflect. So number 1, what is your home environment like? Do you keep your environment tidy and organized to stay focused and on top of things? So, for example, do you buy in loads of snacks and junk food at home, making your environment more tempting and then making the journey more difficult for weight loss or health, for example? Or do you buy in things that actually, that are healthy, that you can use to batch cook healthy meals that you're prepared and you're organized for the week ahead? So when you come in from work, you've batch cooked on Sunday and you can grab a healthy meal by heating it up in the oven, the microwave, whatever. You've bought in some fruit, some vegetables that you can snack on. You might have some hummus in the fridge that you can use, pre-chopped up veggie sticks, things like that. Have you set your environment up for success? Another one that people sometimes don't think of is, who do you spend your time with? Do they support you, motivate you? Do you feel good around these people? Do they have a positive impact on you, or is it a negative influence? Do you feel unmotivated, not unsupported? Again, part of your environment. And the last thing is, do you leave your workout clothes out for yourself the night before? Do you pack a gym bag to go straight after work? Do you leave them out the night before so when you come home from work, they're there and ready to go? Because how many times you come home and you think, oh, I'm tired, or wake up, oh, I can't be bothered. But actually, if you set them out there in front of you, it's making it easier. It's reducing those barriers that are in your way for you to meet those goals. And the more that we can break down those barriers and actually, follow through with those habits, like I say, it's setting your environment up for success, setting yourself up for success, the easier it's going to be. Okay, so it's just trying to think ahead a little bit. And I've put a few things up there on the screen, as you can see, buying in healthy snacks, batch cooking your meals, which I really recommend. Out of sight, out of mind just means if you do have some snacks in your house, that's fine. Again, we're about balance and moderation, but maybe if you're trying to, be a bit healthier, having some other healthier snacks as an alternative, or putting those ones out of sight, out of mind, so you don't just grab them, maybe when you're a bit stressed or you're a bit tired. It just might make it a little bit easier for yourself. And of course, as I just mentioned, leaving your workout clothes out the night before, which I think is a really good tip. So number 3 is keeping yourself accountable. And this is a really important one. So making some actions non-negotiables. So when you make certain actions non-negotiables, I'll give you some examples. So let's say you want to get your steps in every day. And this again is going to be different for everybody. Some people might be doing 10K steps a day, some people might do 3K steps a day, and that's okay. adjusting it to whatever suits you. So, for example, you have 3 non-negotiables, and I've made some examples here for you. So, getting my steps in every day. So, instead of doing 3K a day, I'm going to do 4 or 5K a day. Setting your workout clothes the night before so that when you get up in the morning, you go for your morning walk, you go to the gym, you go for your run, whatever it is that you've said that you're going to do, it's there in front of you, ready to go. It's a non-negotiable. You just get them out the night before. And then batch cooking. So every Sunday, I'm going to batch cook after I do my food shop, and then you set yourself up for the working week, and the food is there, ready to go. Number 2, writing it down. So in a journal or a diary, almost as a bit of a habit tracker. So it's a visual way to kind of keep yourself accountable. So that in itself can be a motivating factor, because I think day on day you think, oh, I'm not making progress. But actually, if you look at your habit tracker or you look at your diary and you're ticking off every day, well, that's actually, that's quite motivating. That's going to keep me going. I've shown up for myself every day. And then on the other side of that, maybe there's a day, and life happens that things don't go to plan and you don't get to tick off that day. This habit tracker can stop you from going down that spiral of, oh, I'm going to self-sabotage, I'm going to give up, because you've seen that, well, every other day I've shown up for myself, I've ticked it off. Today's okay, it didn't work for me, but I'm going to move on tomorrow and I'm going to move forward with it. And then you can see that you've done it every other day. And then the last example here is, you can find a friend or a family member. I always like to use the example where if you go to a gym class or you want to go for a walk and it's just you and you cancel, well, it doesn't really matter. It's just yourself. You can kind of get away with it. But actually, if you promise your friend and you keep not showing up, your friend's not going to like you very much, because they're going to be there by themselves. So it's good to sometimes have a buddy to keep yourself accountable. But that might not be an option for everyone. So you could invest in a coach, or you could look at, free resources. Look up online, is there a park run near you? You can meet other people and meet people that way. Park runs are usually free. They have, people there coming every week, and that could be helping keep you accountable as well. So yeah, so there are some tips for you. And I just want you to remember that, a journey in health and weight loss is very rarely linear, very rarely. And, fluctuations are normal. As we say, life happens. And it's actually how we move forward with that is what counts, because it's inevitable that something may pop up one day. But it's just being in the spirit of acceptance that that's how life works. But actually, instead of the all or nothing mindset, it's how we move forward and cultivate that balance and positive mindset. And I really feel like this graph, it really shows that off well. There's peaks and troughs, there's ups and downs, but you do get there. It's that kind of expectation versus reality. Um, this is so true. Getting started is often the hardest part. It really is. And this is a scenario in many cases. I think thinking about things is way worse than actually doing it. Sometimes I think when you go for a run, thinking about it is worse than when you're actually doing it. So I think it's just getting that momentum going, like the snowball effect. You start with a little snowball and you just make it easy, make it small. You keep going. Next thing you've got a big snowball and you're on your way because you've got that momentum going. So I think just making the first step, and like I said, make it easy, make it small, take on some of these tips that I've given you today, and you'll be well on your way to making these lasting habits. I always reiterate, life happens, it's a journey, it's full of ups and downs, and that is okay. I like to reiterate the spirit of acceptance. That is life, but it's how we move forward, and try not to have this, I've fallen off the wagon, I'll start back on Monday. It's just saying, okay, this has happened. I'm not going to self-sabotage. I'm not going to, completely go off track, as some people would say. You just accept that's happened and we keep going, moving forward. And remember, you're not alone. There are many people watching this today having the same struggles, the same issues. There's people all around the world that, face similar issues. So try and seek a community, try and seek, the families or friends, professional support. At Second Nature, we offer that professional support, community, and education. And I'm sure many of the members watching it tonight know that we send out educational snippets and, articles which are really interesting. I get a lot of feedback from members who say that they find certain things really interesting, they learn new things, and that can really help you create those lasting habits as well. And the community aspect where people can, speak to each other and just relate, someone else is going through that too, and that kind of makes me feel like I'm not alone, and we can go through it together. And of course, having a coach to help you as well. So yeah, that's it. And now we're ready for the Q&A.
That was fantastic, Cheska. Thank you so much. I just based on the conversation that I've been reading through the chat, and I'm sure Nat's been reading it as well, we've had some incredible comments. And I think especially when you were talking about values and
Mm.
our why, because I think a lot of us maybe don't realize why we're making these changes, and we might start, setting these New Year's resolutions and being like, oh, do you know, I'm going to lose a stone in 2 weeks. But why? Why do you want to do that? Like, what values it comes into your life? So thank you so much.
No
I'll
problem.
just ask if you can stop sharing your screen just so we can see.
Well, indeed. There we go.
Hopefully everyone's able to actually see us now. I think it's just always a little technical glitch with Zoom somewhere. Um, but right, we will get into some of the questions. Also, I did not introduce you, Nat, at the beginning. I'm so sorry. So everyone, this is Nat. Nat is one of the health coaches. She has been with Second Nature for years and years, and she used to run our webinars. So Nat is back from maternity leave, and she had a little baby boy called Remy. So she's joined us tonight to join the Q&A. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this chat because I think it's an interesting topic. And I also think a lot of people will be at the stage now where they're wanting to start these New Year's resolutions and making changes that actually last for them. So first question is, how can I get more motivated when my weight has plateaued?
I'll let Natasha take that. Yeah.
Um, Thanks everyone for the congratulations in the chat too. But when your weight has plateaued, was it about getting more motivation? Is that it, Jem? Is that the
I
question?
think that's the basis. Yeah, how can I get more motivated? So, when we reach that stage, you start a weight loss journey, you're losing a few pounds to begin with, and then it gets to like 3 or 4 weeks in, and then bush, nothing on the scales.
Yeah. I think the first thing to keep in mind, and I know it's really difficult, you've been losing weight and then you feel like, oh, this is going amazing. And then all of a sudden it fluctuates, it plateaus. And it's easier said than done, but keep in front of mind that that is really normal. That is absolutely normal in any weight loss journey. And it's nothing that you're doing wrong. I think we can default to that thing of it's not working anymore. It's like all the other times I've tried. I must be doing something wrong. But that isn't the case. And it's really normal to see plateaus, fluctuations up and down sometimes. So keeping that front of mind first and foremost and remembering that. Like I said, easier said than done. So maybe jot it down, reach out to your health coach, reach out to a friend or a community, just to have that reassurance that it is normal. And then secondly, what I would do to help boost that motivation is check in with other measures of progress as well. We always default to the number on the scale as that's the thing that will tell us if we're progressing in the right way, we're doing the right thing. But actually, there's so many other ways that we can track our progress. If we're looking to reduce our blood sugar levels, how are they doing? How our waist circumference doing? Have we taken measurements along the way? When I reach out and share that with people, sometimes we might have forgotten to take them at the start, but that's fine. You can always start and check back in at any point. So whether that's, like body measurements, fitness levels, maybe you've got a fitness tracker and it tells you, your VO2 max or any other health stats, how are they doing? So I would check in with those other measures of progress too, to help boost that motivation. And then going back to what Francesca said at the start, remembering that why. Why am I here to make change? Is it simply just to see the number on the scale go down? Because I know from chatting to so many of my members, that's not usually the case. There's usually, and reading the chat from tonight, we have so many reasons why. So using that as your motivation as well. Why am I doing this? where do I want to be in a year's time? You know, when I'm attending this webinar in January 2026, what do I want to say I've achieved at that point? I don't know if you guys had any other suggestions.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, sorry, Jem.
I was going to say that's like fantastic answer. I would not say anything differently. Fantastic.
Yeah, I would just literally perfect answer. I would just add on that from what you said there, Nat. So it's normal, and we see it with, you know, absolutely everyone. It happens, and it's just remembering that it's normal, and just don't self-sabotage at that point. Literally, just remember to keep going. And as Nat said, remember your reason why. You know, don't just depend on the scale. Exactly what she said there. Just spot on everything you said.
And do you know what I would add to that as well is, as coaches, I'm sure we see it on the platform every day when we're talking to our members, that especially this time of year, people will be joining the program because they want to lose weight after Christmas. And, you know, people will get a few weeks in and the weight will plateau because naturally that's what the body does. And it's like a really normal thing to happen. Even when we're completely on top of our habits, our weight will still plateau. But that's when people's motivation goes down. That's when people, you know, they fall back into those old habits. And it's just about catching it. I think it's what you said, focusing on those other measures, but then bringing it back to, you know, is there more to this than wanting to lose weight? Like so many people in the chat there were saying, you know, they want to reduce their risk of diabetes, they want to improve their health. I think weight can be a good measure for sure, like extrinsically, but when we're thinking about intrinsic, it's what you said, Nat, you know, where do you want to be in a year's time? Do you want to kind
Yeah.
of have the same sort of mindset, or do you want to make changes that can last for life, you know?
Like, and you know what? Another good thing is if you just reflect, reflection is such a good tool, and ask yourself, well, what am I going to achieve by self-sabotaging or giving up on this? Just because the scale says a certain number, what will I achieve? And as Jem said as well, you know, am I going to be where I want to be in a year's time? You need to consider those things, because, you know, giving up, you're just going to go back into like that negative cycle kind of thing I was talking about. And I think, as Nat said as well, you know, reach out to your health coach, you know, speak to someone, write it down, all those different things.
Yeah.
And leading on from that, someone's actually written in the Q&A, I've spent years trying to shift the weight and now I've lost the belief that I can do it. As it's become the norm being overweight, I can't flick the switch.
Yeah. And I think I saw another question similar along those lines of like, I've done so many things before that haven't maybe worked, that you almost have this belief that that will be the case again. So like Francesca said, that reflection of, okay, why didn't it work last time? Was I setting myself goals that weren't aligned with my values? Deirdre put something in the chat that I really liked. I actually wrote it down. We want to be doing things that we want to do rather than what we think we should be doing. So maybe it's a point of reflection that the previous times we were doing things that weren't aligned with our values. And why would we work towards something or stick with something that doesn't feel good to us? So taking that approach and maybe looking forward and saying, okay, the approach I'm going to take now is I'm going to make sure that it's aligned to my values and that it's something that feels good and realistic and achievable.
Yeah.
Yes, love that.
Adding on to that as well, I think I see a lot of people say like, oh, I'm going to do spin classes, I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do these forms of exercise that you don't actually enjoy. You need to find something that you enjoy, because that is what you're going to keep up. Because I think even going for long walks, or going for a walk and listening to a podcast or some music, or walking with a friend, is underrated. It's just getting that movement in, because some people might get very little movement and think, oh, I need to go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, but it makes me feel anxious. Whereas you could go out for a walk with a friend, or you could go to a class, or, you know, you could do workout videos on YouTube, whatever suits you. It doesn't have to be what everyone else is doing, and it doesn't have to be extreme. It's just, like I said, making that first step, making it small, making it easy, sort of thing.
And I think a lot of them go, it's like either one way or the other, right? It's like that all or nothing mindset where you're being super restrictive or you're trying to do the most. And of course, you're going to get to the point where your body and your mind just going to go, sod it, I'm going to go back to my old habits. And you actually might end up, you know, doing something differently than you were doing before. And what a lot of people say is like, you know, they go on fad diets, they lose however much weight, but then they put on double because their body is just restrictive. So I think it's what you said, Nat. It's got to be realistic. The changes that you make have got to be ones that you enjoy and that, you know, you can wake up every day knowing that you're making choices that you actually want to make and not because you're waiting for an outcome that might never happen.
Mm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, we've got another question. I have set goals in the past and I failed to achieve them. What should my mindset be? I find myself afraid. I don't want to let myself down again.
Mm.
I think what I touched on with goals there is just, you know, making sure that you are you know what you want and you know what process you're going on. So what was the question again there, Jem?
So I've set goals in the past and failed to achieve them.
Yeah.
What should my mindset be? So is there like a switch in mindset this person could make to help them achieve their goals better?
Yeah, I think, well, the first thing I would do is, again, I always talk about reflection, you know, ask yourself why, sit down with yourself. Because a lot of people like don't actually sit down and journal and write things out in front of them because it really gets it all out. Ask yourself why, you know, what barriers were in the way? Why did it not work? Was it too restrictive? Were you enjoying it and then it stopped? Did something happen stressful in your life and you couldn't continue? Why were you not able to meet those goals? And, you know, as I said, and when I was doing the presentation, we all have the ability to change. We really do. It's just having the right information and the right tools. And when you find that, you will be able to do it. And I think having that positive mindset, really thinking and telling yourself, and you know how you speak to yourself is important. And say, no, I can do this. I'm going to figure out why it didn't work out last time. And it's not a waste of time. You're not starting from scratch. You're starting from, you know, a place of new information. It didn't work because of these reasons, and now I know that it doesn't work, and this is the road I'm going to go down instead. And keep positive and keep telling yourself, no, I can do it.
I would
Yeah.
totally agree with that. And similarly, along the lines of what you said before, Jem, about moving away from that all or nothing mindset, isn't it? Either, you know, we've done things in the past and either it's a pass or a fail. We either succeed at it or we fail at it. But maybe it's about next time you set your goals, what's that place in the middle? So there's a technique that I really like called elastic habits. And I'm sure you've heard me talk about this a lot, Jem. But
Yeah.
it's that when we set our goals, we give ourselves different options and ways to achieve that same goal. So if it's about being active, rather than saying, I'm going to go to the gym, we give ourselves three different options that one is so simple, it's almost too easy to do. Then we have our moderate goal, and then we have our really sort of like amazing goal, elite goal, the best version of that goal. And when we give ourselves options, it moves away from that all or nothing, and we give ourselves loads of ways to win, loads of ways to achieve our goals, rather than just, oh, well, I've not done that today because I didn't have time, so therefore I've failed. I'll have to give up.
I think that's brilliant. I think that's so good. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. Yeah.
No, I just like one of you says something, I'm like, oh my God,
There you
yeah.
go.
Thinking of like the really, really tiny habit and like the easy habit, it's something that I'd always go back to because you want to just make it so easy that it would almost be harder not to do it than it would be to do it. So something like putting on your gym trainers. It sounds like such a small, like pointless thing to do. But once you've put your trainers on, you might then be more likely to step outside. You might then be more likely to go for a walk and actually could end up achieving your bigger goal without telling yourself you're going to do it. Because it's what you were saying, Jessica, we can talk ourselves out of doing something. We can like set these big goals. And then if we're not feeling motivated, be like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow kind of thing.
Absolutely. And I think oftentimes we all face like not wanting to do something, but like Jem said just now, like even just, you know, putting your shoes on, doing something that's going to help you feel more likely that you're going to do it. Tell a friend, you know, meet me there at 5 o'clock, we'll go for a walk, just like really little things like that. And I think what Nat said there is brilliant about like having the different sort of level of goals, almost something so easy, so small, so that, you know, you're not just setting really hard goals where you feel like you've failed and I'm just going to keep giving up, I'm not going to reach it anyways. That sort of breeds that negative mindset. Whereas if you just, as I said at the end of the presentation, make it small, make it easy, then you've achieved, and you can give yourself those little ticks on the habit tracker, and then you look every day I've shown up for myself, I've done it. It may be small, but you've still moved forward in that direction that you want to go in, and that's okay.
So true. And our brain loves a celebration. I don't know if anyone's heard of BJ Fogg, but he's fantastic. He's also, I always say, like, there's the three of them. You've got BJ Fogg, James Clear, and then the third one who I can't think of off the top of my head. But BJ Fogg was basically saying that, when we celebrate our habit, so if we achieve a habit and we actually celebrate that and we write it down, or we talk to a friend about it, or, we journal or whatever, we're reiterating to ourselves that we can do it, that we are showing up for ourselves. And little by little, that switch in mindset and that, neuroplasticity, that starts to happen, but it takes time. And I think that's what we don't give ourselves a lot of time, is time. And something goes wrong, and then we say, well, I'm out of here. So we have to have, I think, patience and self-compassion. My goodness, we really have to have them when we're trying to make changes.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree.
I totally agree. And just off the back of that as well, with making it easy for ourselves, I like what you said in the presentation about setting up your environment. And I think having this idea of reducing any friction between yourself and the habit that you want to create, reducing any friction, making it so easy. But then on the flip side, any habits that you want to break, add in as much friction as you can. So making it harder for yourself to carry out that habit that you don't want to do. So like you said in your example, putting things out of sight, out of mind, changing the environment. So we have to think a little bit more about, oh, well, the biscuits are in that cupboard. And we're just making it harder for ourselves for the habits that we want to break, but making it so easy for the habits that we want to instill.
100%. And just to reiterate as well, like, we are all different. Like, if someone really can't have biscuits in your cupboard or in your house, like, that's okay, because if you feel like the temptation is too much, especially when you're initially making the changes, maybe just initially don't have them in. I know I would definitely be like that, but then there's other people who out of sight, out of mind is absolutely okay. Like, we're all different, and that's why I gave the two examples. Just because you can't buy them in doesn't mean you're a failure. It's just doing what works for you, and that's the important thing. What one person does might not work for you, but you need to do what does work for you. A bit like the exercise. Don't go to the spin class if you don't like it. Go to, the weights class, go for a walk, things like that.
Out of sight, out of mind really does work. Like, I'm the kind of person, if I've got things in the house and they're there in front of me, I will eat them.
Me too.
And a lot of people are like, oh, they get into this mindset, but they almost feel bad for not having things in the house. But I'm like, but if it's going to make it easier for you, do it. Like, it's got to be what's easy at the end of the day.
A lot of people are like that.
No, I agree. Well, I mean, I found some biscuits the other day that I've completely forgot I bought because I threw them to the back of the cupboard. I was like, oh, great, just gonna eat them now.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah,
Out of
a
mind.
great example.
But speaking of, we have had another question come in. So someone said, I've been away for about 3 weeks. I'm dreading getting back on the scales. How can I overcome the guilt of not adhering to my healthy eating?
I think at that point that there's a lot of people that go away on holidays and they dread kind of coming back. I think it's trying to, before you go away on the next one, it's trying to work on cultivating that balanced mindset where you don't feel like, right, I'm going away, so I'm going to throw everything out the window now and I'm just going to be eating this and this and that. It's trying to have that balanced approach and say, okay, I'm going on holidays. Naturally, I'm going to enjoy some more indulgent foods, just like at Christmas time. You are going to do that. I keep talking about this spirit of acceptance. So accepting what is. So I'm on holidays, I'm going to enjoy myself more, and avoiding that kind of restrictive mindset of, when I get back, I can't have any of it, so therefore I must eat it all now. Whereas if you then, the next time you go on holidays, you say, right, okay, I'm on holidays, I'm actually going to enjoy it. I'm going to enjoy little bits and bobs of what I want. I'm going to implement some of the healthy, sustainable habits alongside that and make it a balance so that you're not dreading coming back the next time. And another point I want to add on to that is people hop on the scales as soon as they get back from holidays. You're eating more indulgent foods, and that's okay, because you enjoy it and it's about balance. But you do often hold on to some water weight for a little while. It takes our body a while to adjust getting back. So I wouldn't just get back on the scale straight away and think, oh, I fail. Just give yourself time to adjust back into your habits. And if you have put on a few pounds, that can be natural. It's not the end of the world. and just keep that balanced mindset kind of moving forward is what I would say.
Yeah, totally. And I think sometimes it can be that self-fulfilling prophecy almost, can't it? Like we eat something a bit more indulgent, we step straight on the scales.
Yeah.
That's just proof that we couldn't maintain our habits and we'll have to restrict because if we don't, the scales will go up. So I totally agree, giving some space between picking things back up exactly where you left off. There's no, I would think, how does this guilt serve me? Is it helpful in carrying me forward? Or can I just draw a line under it, pick up the habits where I left off, and then in a couple of weeks' time, step on the scales? I also encourage people to think about, okay, if I don't step on the scales, how do I feel within myself? Regardless of what the scales tell me, how do I feel knowing that I'm keeping up with my habits or I've drawn a line under things? And often that can give us a bit more motivation and make us feel a bit better after, an indulgent period.
100%. And I think trying not to have it as like, right, at home, this is the way I eat and I eat really healthy. And when I'm on holidays, I throw all that, the healthy eating out the window. The message we're trying to get across, as I keep saying, is balance. So, picking up some of the healthy habits and saying, so for example, someone said about a restaurant, when you're at home, you might have half a plate of vegetables or salad, or you have, the balanced plate model where a quarter portion of protein or complex carbs and a serving of fat. So try and take that into your holiday, and maybe some of the days you might order a side of veg, and then the next couple of days you might just order the side of chips because you're on holidays, and that's okay. Maybe just try and balance it that way and not see it as an all or nothing. So home, really strict. On holidays, everything goes out the window. It's trying to implement some of those habits that we're trying to instill and teach, and implement them and mix them in with the holiday. So then you're not dreading coming back. And then overall, it's a more enjoyable experience.
Very true. I think holidays and weekends go hand in hand because
Yeah.
it's in the times where you see that people struggle with their habits the most. And I think it's just a switch in mindset, isn't it? Like you think about holidays, it's time to relax, it's time to unwind, it's time to let loose. And of course you can do that, but then you're probably making it harder for yourself when you do come back. So I think balance is going to look different for everyone, right? Like for us three, balance might look totally different day to day. But it's about, at Second Nature, we do recommend just trying to have like the balanced plate model. So you've got your protein, fat, complex carbs, and veggies. Even just making small switches like that, like you said, Cheska, add in some veggies where you can when you're on holiday, or even at the weekend if you're going out with your friends and family and you're eating a meal out. It's those little things that are going to have a big impact in the long run.
It's so true. And even like things like alcohol, you're going for like the less sugary ones, maybe not having as many cocktails, going for a wine with a spritzer, or having a glass of water in between. Like little small changes like that is what adds up, because the next time you go on holidays and then the next time you go on holidays, they're the little things that you can add in, and they're the little things that are sustainable that make a difference. And you're not going to just do, and then because they're so small as well, and you still get to enjoy the balance of holidays, it doesn't feel like you're making a big sacrifice. And again, it goes back to that balance. It's so simple, but it's so hard to implement. But with the right tools, it can't, or it can, it's very doable.
So true. And I think it's just practice, right? I think the first time you do something new, your brain is going to go, whoa, 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 what's going on here? Because
Mhm.
our brain doesn't like change. For the most part, it likes things that are comfortable and what it's used to and what feels natural for it. So actually, when we're trying to do these new things, there's going to be a bit of resistance. So we just need to keep trying until we get to the point where, hold on, we're doing it and we're not even thinking about it. We're ordering that protein dish before we were even realizing that we're doing it. So yeah, and I think, people on the call today, there's going to be people who are members, but there's also going to be people who maybe have never heard of Second Nature before. So I would recommend checking out our website, having a look at what we do, because it is probably one of the most rewarding jobs in the world, helping people to make changes that actually last. And we're coming to the end of this webinar now, but I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Cheska and Nat. and to everyone for being so engaged in the chat. You've had some incredible comments in here. But yeah, thank you all so much. Just to let you know, so we do these webinars monthly, and we will be back next month, and it will be me and Emma presenting, and we're going to be doing about how to manage your habits during the menstrual cycle, because we know that a lot of our members struggle with the menstrual cycle. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you back there for that. And take care. I hope everyone has a lovely evening, and thank you for joining.